What's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal, getting ready for the show on Newstalk 1040, all over the greater Tampa Bay area, live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Going to be joined by Paul Villarreal. Lots to talk about today. What's going on, everybody? It's me, John D. Villarreal, here, getting ready for the show. We're about 1 minute out. I'm going to silence myself here for a second, getting ready for the on-air feed, the simulcast with Newstalk 1040. If you want to join in, 727-587-1040, or chat with me on YouTube or X. I'll be able to see it over here. So we will stand by and we'll see you soon. Lots to talk about today. Candace versus Ben Shapiro, all kinds of other stuff going on in the world. We'll talk about and take your comments as well.
Some students attack. Community boost they need to make it through.
Welcome to the John Villarreal Show. Now, here's John.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's me, John D. Villarreal. It is now time for the John D. Villarreal radio show here on Newstalk 1040, all over the greater Tampa Bay area. Hey, it's Eclipse Day. A lot of things are happening out there. My daughter came running in saying, hey, it's Eclipse Day. Yeah, we're not doing any of that. And I hope everyone is definitely be safe out there. I'm not making any recommendations. Whatever you do is at your own risk, no doubt about it. But a lot of people are talking about the eclipse in the news. We're not going to be really talking about that so much today, but I mean, here in the greater Tampa Bay area, all over, anywhere you're at, we're in Sarasota, maybe you're in Bradenton, downtown Tampa Bay, downtown St. Pete, Clearwater, all over the place, Lakeland, Brandon, everywhere, and live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and X. We are going to be talking about, we did some shows last night, Paul and I. Short little deals, covering some different topics. We'll probably cover them and pick them up again here today. There's so much more to talk about. And there's other stuff to talk about. Last night we talked about Disney and Star Wars and Marvel. Are they losing, fans? Have they lost a lot of fans? We'll talk about that. We'll also talk about big news. Candace Owens looks like she will be debating Ben Shapiro. Lots to talk about on that. We are also going to be talking about the Caitlin, the Iowa Hawkeyes star out there, how she did really, Caitlin Clark, how she did so well, didn't win the championship. South Carolina won, but where would you put Caitlin Clark? Is she one of the best ever? Should she go to the NBA? Should she stay in college and do the NIL stuff and continue to rack up some money that way? What about that? Now, there are other things to talk about as well. The left is already talking about should Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor, should she retire? Okay, the left, they're crazy. They're talking, so we're going to talk about that. That's very interesting. And there's also stuff, Trump's come out with some new positions. He has a position on abortion. The left's going a little bit crazy about that. We'll talk about that. There's all kinds of other stuff. What about, Brazil? There's a judge in Brazil, and there's some back and forth with Elon Musk. There's some issues on that. Things are happening in the automotive space. A lot to talk about that with EV. Fisker. Is Fisker in trouble? Okay, so I'm going to speculate on that. There's been Musk and Tesla. Well, Tesla, obviously that he runs Tesla. Tesla has dropped prices on some more again on some more of their vehicles. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, I got to double check. Don't hold me to this, but I think the Model Y has dropped pricing, and that's a popular model, SUV model. Fisker is dropping pricing. A lot going on there, and we could talk about. I can't remember what it is. I can't remember SVU or something like that. There's a model out of China. It's very, very popular, and they're ramping up. Lots going on. Jobs report, everything else. Let's bring in Paul Villarreal. Paul, big news day today. We did some different shows last night. People were talking about that. what's going on in the world today. I mean, we've got a lot going on here. We've got Trump, huge campaign fundraising stuff. They talked about Biden's, 50 million, and there were some protests outside his fundraising thing in New York. And then you've got Trump, I think, that hauled in $100 million in 4 days. A lot of the never Trumpers are sort of coming back there. The billionaire class is coming back to Trump. Lots going on. What do you think's going on out there in the world?
Yeah, look, I would say the two biggest stories of maybe the last 7 days, at least as regards President Trump and the campaign, are what you just mentioned, which is Trump's massive fundraising haul in Palm Beach, Florida, which took in over $50 million in one night. That was held at the home of John Paulson, a billionaire investor. Mm-hmm. He lives basically right down the street from Mar-a-Lago. So it was an easy gathering for the president and Melania. Also, today, President Trump put out about a 4.5-minute video stating his positions on abortion and in vitro fertilization. And that has everybody buzzing. People are really talking about that. So we can cover both of those issues. There's also another Trump fundraiser coming up in Atlanta, Georgia this week. That's supposed to be another big haul. That's going on. Those are the two, I'd say, the biggest things that are happening right now. As you mentioned, we did some shows last night, talked about several other issues. We can cover that some here. Of course, the Ben Shapiro versus Candace Owens thing.
Yeah, that's big.
That's keeps going because of, like you said, the announced apparent debate that's going to take place between those two. Mm-hmm. And I'd say those are the main topics out there right now.
No doubt about it. I mean, you've got Trump that's really, really crushing right now. And I think it's really setting in to the liberals out there that, oh my goodness, Trump might win again. And Trump can and what are we going to do? And it's real. It's real. The speculative lawfare out there is not working against Trump. You have him appealing out there. One of his attorneys, Haba's out there talking. She's been effective. There's been a lot of questions that are raised on various ones of these different, things out there. I'm not going to talk too much on that, but if you look at, at these, before it was like, they're going to frog march him to prison. Well, maybe not so much. Okay, it's not looking so good. You've got Jack Smith is taking some L's in some of the court things here. I mean, Fonnie Willis out there in Atlanta's taking some L's. You've got the New York cases. That's looking. There's questions out there with some of those. And I think that people kind of tuned out that noise. Now there's a focus on Trump is the nominee. I have another question too. Where's Nikki Haley? Where is Nikki Haley? I mean, when we had the pledge with the Republicans and stuff like that, we're going to back the nominees. I've seen DeSantis out there, doing stuff for Trump. I've seen DeSantis not personally out there, but in the news, in Florida with some of the fairs and stuff like that out there talking about Trump, talking about Florida. The governor, Ronnie D's out there doing stuff. We've seen Vivek Ramaswamy, Tim Scott's launched the podcast out there, doing great with the podcast. But I mean, I think I'm going to put this on the screen here in a second. So I'm going to put this right here on the screen. We have a situation here, and I'll turn it over to you, where you have the liberals that are melting down, in my opinion. Nate Silver, from the New York Times, or formerly, is very, very famous out there. Is he still with the New York Times, Paul?
I'm not sure if he is or not.
Not sure if he is.
I'm oscillating.
538, very famous out there, certainly formerly with the New York Times. He's put something out here talking about Sonia Sotomayor's potential retirement. That shows you, in my opinion, some of the fear out there that we're talking about that now. And it'll make more sense here in 1 second. Let's just show this right here. Okay, give me 1 second right here. And then we're good there. And then let's try to do this. And hold on. Let's refresh this. Okay. Is that working? There we go. Headline, Silver Bulletin. Sonia Sotomayor's retirement is a political IQ test. Okay. Wow. And it just kind of goes about this. And when it's talking on this, it's talking about how, they're not going to get into, the actuarial tables, things like that. They're not going to talk about that. But what he does say is, when are they going to have a chance to have the Democrats have control of the Senate and the presidency? Okay. When are they going to have that? In other words, the time is now, Democrats. If you want to make a switch, Hint, hint, wink, wink. You know what I mean? I'm not alleging anything, but I mean, to me, this is not that subtle. Okay, it's like we've got the window now. We've got to, do what we need. I mean, again, I'm not. This is what is being said right here. Okay, and then it also saying I'm not the only person to bring up this touchy subject. I mean, there we go. I mean, they are talking openly now, Paul. They are talking. The left is talking openly about about Sonia Sotomayor's retirement. The headline is it's a political IQ test. And so with this discussion, is that not clear evidence that the left is worried that Donald Trump, 45, is going to become 47? Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, they're definitely worried about it. I don't think there's any question about that. You're seeing it. You are seeing a lot of talk around Sotomayor. They don't want another Ruth Bader Ginsburg, that type of thing. I think that is it seems to be taking place. There's a lot of polls that, of course, are favoring President Trump. Now, there have been some recent polls that have been favorable to Biden, so we have to say that. But, I mean, think about where Trump was in polling in 2020 compared to where he is now. He's far ahead of that. And we know how close the election was in 2020. So, yes, there is concern, and there should be concern. One other thing I want to mention that I did not bring up
Go ahead.
at the start of the show is the lawfare angle. Apparently, New York Attorney General Letitia James does not want to honor or go with the Trump bond, and she is going to try to start seizing his properties. Now, of course, that's going to be contested, I'm sure, by President Trump, but that came out today. So there's going to be a lot of talk about that.
We need to talk about that. We also need to talk about, hey, what about Jon Stewart? Where's Jon Stewart? What about his property in New York? There's been people talking about that, but I want to stay with this right now. Sonia Sotomayor, this is the thing, folks. We have so many topics to talk about today. You really need to stay with the program the entire way. We are not even going to be able to get to it. I feel like the great Rush Limbaugh, and definitely not as talented. Rush is fantastic. Rush in peace, Rush. But, I mean, we have so much to talk about today. It's Monday. It's Monday, 4/16 here in the greater Tampa Bay area, Eclipse Day. And let's get back to this. Sonia Sotomayor, this is Nate Silver. Okay, in his natesilver.net, I'm going to give proper credit to it. Another pull quote here, quote, I'm going to be more blunt than any of them. If you're someone who even vaguely cares about progressive political outcomes, and I'm going to jump ahead, ... you want Sotomayor to retire and be replaced by a younger liberal justice. He said it right there, Paul. He said it right there. I mean, what else do you need to see? What else do you need to see right there? What are your comments on that?
Look, like I said, it's unfortunate. Like it's not pleasant to discuss, but because of what happened with Ginsburg, I guess the left feels that they have to discuss this because the court currently is 6-3, and they don't want it to become 7-2, which of course, if President Trump gets in and Sotomayor's health isn't good or she decides to retire for another reason, that could be the case. So I think, as you said, this is a very clear indication that they are very worried that President Trump, yes, is going to win the 2024 election.
Let's talk about the polls because I know you're all over that and you go back and forth sometimes with the pollster Rich Barris and others. Give me a sense of the polls because, I mean, you had no less than Mika Brzezinski, who seemed a little nonplussed having to read the polls last week. And the polls are looking very good for President Trump and not so great for President Biden, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, okay. Let's talk national polls. A new national poll by the organization TIPP, which tends to be pretty darn good, basically has Biden up now by, I think, 43-41. And when they ran their poll in February, it was basically the reverse of that. So, and it looks like primarily the gain was made with independents. Now, look, what happened between February and now? Well, Biden clinched the nomination. Trump clinched his nomination. Biden started running ads and campaigning state to state. We had the whole thing with what Trump supposedly said when he was campaigning in Ohio. And, so I think there has been some movement there because I've seen independents swing towards Biden in a couple of different polls. And if it's just one poll, it's whatever. Now, do I think that's going to last? Because if this is a result of how the media covered what Trump said in Ohio, I don't think it's going to last. And it reminds me of a time in 2019 when Trump, something happened in Texas and Trump was blamed for it, and his polls dipped for about 2 months, and then they recovered. So my guess is that's not going to stay that way. And plus, Biden in that poll is at 43%. That is not a high number for an incumbent at all. So I think that it's still some warning signs there for President Biden, although he is performing better. There has been a little movement towards him. But you mentioned the pollster Rich Barris. On his podcast today, he kind of went over some scenarios and potential outcomes of the election. And one of the things he mentioned, which most pollsters know this, is that Trump tends to outperform his polls by about 2 to 3 points.
Yep.
And so if that plays out once again, then Biden's really going to be in trouble. I mean, in addition to, it looks like the non-white movement towards Trump from those voting groups. And so, look, Biden has improved, but I think the way to best explain it is you'd rather be Trump than Biden. I think that's the easiest way to say it.
It makes a lot of sense. You definitely would rather be Trump than Biden. There's a lot going on around here today. I mean, and where do you feel that it's going to go? Meaning that, like, do you feel like the momentum, who's got the momentum now? You've got, Biden and the team sort of engaging in the campaign. You've got some different things happening. The View's been talking a lot about, what's going, a lot of the political stuff. You can see the left sort of engaging and getting things ramped up. What's your take on that?
I think that, what an interesting point. I mean, I think that Trump has had the momentum. I think Biden's gained a little bit of momentum. Now it looks like we're going to be headed into this New York trial of President Trump. Now,
Right.
Of course, the left is going to try to make what they can out of that, and including, I would imagine, hoping that President Trump becomes convicted and becomes a technical convicted felon. On the other hand, that could backfire, and it could look like an overreach and kind of overzealousness from the legal perspective. So I'm not sure right now, but I will tell you this, and you mentioned this, and we touched on it, the fundraiser. As you said, the money is starting to come back for Trump.
It is.
And that is a huge sign and a huge omen of where things might be heading for him, because he is at a money deficit, and suddenly huge money is starting to come in, and that's a great sign for him and for his base.
It is a great sign for him and his base. And take my point. You've got some different comments out there. We're going to get into this as we talk about the abortion position of Donald Trump. And you've got some criticism by people like, former Vice President Mike Pence. We will get into that. But I mean, do you feel like you have a lot of things happening right now? Let me clarify what my point I want to make here. And we've got about 6 minutes left before the break. You've got a situation where the left, and I said this on LinkedIn, and I think that, let me go to what I said on LinkedIn very quickly, because I definitely believe that is apropos of what's going on right now. But I mean, I will paraphrase it, which is basically that Biden is in a position where he's got to move left. And I think that he's doing that. That's what's happening, okay? So he is moving left on certain issues. I think he's got issues with the foreign policy stuff and what's going on overseas. He's got issues with the border. He's got a lot of different issues. So in some ways, he's got to move left to shore up that base. He's got issues. There's the student loan thing happening today. I think he's having issues with a lot of different groups. He's having issues with younger voters. And in fact, credit to PBD podcast, Patrick Bet David podcast. They basically said that, like, on the four main, well, there's different ways, obviously, different demographics you can look at in polling. But married men, Trump's winning. Married women, Trump's winning. Single men, Trump's winning. We know younger voters are starting to move towards Trump. We know that minority communities, particularly Hispanics, have moved to, across different demographics, are moving towards Trump. The main demographic that is still holding strong respectively, with the Democrats are single women. And so they predicted, and I think that they're right, and other people have said this too, that you're going to see the Democrats just hammer on abortion and other issues like that. And so Trump coming out today with this discussion on the abortion thing, his stance, I think, was very important and very timely. I've got some C-SPAN footage here of that statement. I'm sure that Trump and the team put out. We might go to just a snippet of that. What's your take on what Trump said today? He basically said, leave it up to the states, and also covering, supporting, as you said, supporting IVF, and also covering the 3 exceptions. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct. I thought the statement was great. We talked about the pollster Rich Bears. He gave it a 97 out of 100. And that's he said it's definitely an A grade statement. And it's to the extent I think the left is concerned about this, that President Biden put out a statement himself saying that Trump is lying in the statement, meaning he knows the statement is so good that all you can do is accuse Trump of lying about it. So if that's the position that you're in on the other side, that's not a good position to be in. Because we both know, as you said, this was going to be a large part of their campaign, and Trump's basically taking it away from them.
Let's see if we can get a little sound on this. This may or may not work. We'll just play just a super snippet of this. This is from C-SPAN, I'm sure put out by the Trump campaign. Let's see what this sounds like right here, if we can hear a little bit of this. It's 4 minutes and 36 seconds. We're not going to go through all of it, but we'll just try to get a little bit of sound for the Newstalk 1040 audience. Let's see. Okay, we got we got different things going on there. Hold on. We got different. We're not doing that. Give me 1 second here, folks. 1 second. 1 second here. Let's hide this. Wasn't quite ready. We'll do that the next segment. We're not quite ready for prime time on this one yet. But what's up with Pence? Like, what is his deal? Like, I don't understand what's happening with Mr. Mike Pence on this situation, Paul.
Yeah, look, there's a group of whatever you want to call them, rhinos or never Trump or aggrieved former Trump inner circle people who are still trying to wage this kind of Sisyphusian campaign against Trump. And Mike Pence is one of those people. And the problem is, you mentioned Nikki Haley. Remember about 3 weeks ago, we were talking about Nikki Haley voters?
Yeah.
Nobody talks about that
anymore.
No, but
why?
I told you. Nobody cares.
Hey, not to pat myself on... I'm sorry, Paul. I've stepped on your audio there. Not to pat myself on the back, or you as well, the John D. Villarreal Show here on Newstalk 10. How many times have we told you, I'm sort of jumping the story a little bit here, how many times have we told you straight up that, you need to listen to the John D. Villarreal Show and that we're ahead of the game? I mean, I don't understand. How many times do we have to tell you this? That basically Nikki Haley has very limited amount of actual voters. That most of them were Democrats trying to do Operation Chaos and all the rest of it. And again, where's Nikki Haley? We told you that it was basically a non-factor. Now, that being said, she should be out there on the stump. Where's the great Republican? She should be vice president. We still have people out there who are basically promoting her as a VP pick. And you can't find her anywhere out there supporting Trump or stumping for him or anything like that. This is a joke, Paul. Your comments. Quickly, you have 1 minute.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of people who feel the same way. As you mentioned, Governor DeSantis was on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday.
Good job, Ronnie.
He did endorse Trump.
Go ahead.
Obliquely, but he wouldn't say his name. And I know that people were not happy about that afterwards. It's like, look,
Ronnie
all you guys who are competing against Trump, you got to let it go and move on and unify. And again, let's give credit. The people with the donor class is starting to do that.
I like it. The donor class is definitely starting to do that. We got about 30 seconds left. So I've got this thing ready now for the Trump, the sound for Trump on the abortion statement on C-SPAN. We're going to have that in the next segment. We've got all kinds of stuff. If you want to join the program, you can certainly go out there and call the program at 727-587-1040, 727-587-1040. We can definitely do that. We're going to be ready in the next segment. We're going to continue to talk about this. We're going to talk about Trump. We're going to talk about Disney and the Star Wars fan and the Marvel fans. So much more to talk about. Lots to get into here on the John D. Villarreal Radio Show. So I love it. Listen, We'll be right back. Next segment, John D. Villarreal Radio Show here at Newstalk 1040, live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and X. We'll see you in 6 minutes.
Beatable value.
What's going on, everyone? It's me, John D. Villarreal, here on the John D. Villarreal Radio Show here on Newstalk 1040, live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and X. We are talking about so many different things right now, no doubt about it. There's a lot going on out there. We're bringing in Paul Villarreal here. Paul, generally, and we'll just play a little clip. I mean, it's 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes. We're not going to play all of it. We're just going to play just a teeny bit of it. But generally, how would you say that the statement here, we're talking about President Trump. President Trump came out today with a statement on the abortion issue. Where do you feel like that statement is? I mean, it has put President Trump. Do you feel like, and you said that Rich Bears, the pollster, someone tested that and it was like a 95, 97% statement or something like that. Explain that a little bit more, and now we'll get into some of the statement from President Trump himself.
Yeah. So, Barris, I had one quibble with the statement, and I don't recall what that was. But obviously, he liked it a lot. He thinks it's a winner politically. And he has a very good feeling of how things play out, particularly because he's a pollster who's polled the issue many times. So I think most people are reacting to it very favorably on the right. There are some people, and Barris actually called them out on his podcast today, who are kind of one-issue people. That might be part of their living, so to speak, who might take issues with some of what Trump said on the right. But I think most people believe that this is a good position to be in a politically intelligent position to take.
Okay, we've got a little bit of sound here from President Trump. We're not going to play much of it, but let's just see what it says. Here is a statement from C-SPAN. This is via cspan.org, and let's just see what's going on here. So it should be public domain.
It should be decided by each
American family. We want to make it easier for mothers and families to have babies, not harder. That includes supporting the availability of fertility treatments like IVF in every state in America. Like the overwhelming majority of Americans, including the vast majority of Republicans, conservatives, Christians, and pro-life Americans,
So Trump's going on about that. We'll kind of stop it there. Obviously, it's a longer statement. He goes on for several minutes on that, saying just what that's saying right there. And that's on cspan.org over there. And he goes through it. And obviously, it's been thought through. This is something that, the campaign has addressed. They knew. I think coming out now, let's talk about the political strategy, because it's a 4.5 minute statement. We've covered the elements of it. Paul, what do you think? Like, do you feel like this has been a smart move by Trump to address this early? It seems like I can remember George Stephanopoulos with Mitt Romney, who was running for president, with the whole contraception thing. I mean, you could see, the debates is setting almost felt like it was setting issues up. Also, George Stephanopoulos has really been getting, I mean, whether it's Nancy Mace or other people, there's really been a lot of back and forth with George Stephanopoulos. It looks like he's up to, how do I say this? Definitely some interesting things that have been said by Stephanopoulos, and he's been in the news quite a bit. But do you feel like Trump coming out now and talking about this is really kind of a smart political move based upon where we think the Democrats are going to try to be on this issue, and being, again, really pushing certain wedge issues like this? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant move. And the reason is because he basically had to do this based upon what's taking place in Florida right now. There was a recent Supreme Court ruling of Florida where they affirmed, I believe, the 15-week ban. And so that ruling was going to basically allow the 6-week ban that I think Governor DeSantis has passed. So because of that, as soon as that happened, last week, Trump was at a speech that he gave in Michigan. And as soon as he finished the speech, a reporter approached him and said, "Do you support a 6-week ban?" So in other words, as soon as that went down in Florida, the media was ready to pounce on it. And when Trump's answer to that reporter was, "We're going to put out a statement next week." So basically, this was a move of both offense and defense, but primarily it was defense based on what was taking place in Florida. And so I think it's a very smart move. I think they handled it brilliantly. And being able to take such an important issue for the left off the table which he essentially did today, in my opinion, is massive. That's gigantic.
Here's what he says right here. This is from CNN, CNN.com. Headline by Kate Sullivan, Christian Holmes, Steve Contorno, and Daniel Dale. And this is from 3:47 p.m. Headline, Trump says abortion legislation should be left to the states. Going down here, CNN.com. Quote, former President Donald Trump said Monday that abortion rights should be left to the states. The quote from Trump right here is basically, my view is now that we have abortion where everyone wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation, or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. Okay, and that was posted to Truth from Trump's account on Truth Social. And he also says that, quote, many states will be different. And then again, it goes into some more detail on that. But basically, exactly is what you're saying there, Paul, is that it should be left to the states. And I don't understand where you've got people like President Mike Pence here. We've got this and former Vice President Mike Pence, is talking about this, that this was, quote, a retreat on the right to life and a, quote, slap in the face of millions of pro-life Americans who voted for him in 2016 and 2020. What do you think about that statement from Mike Pence?
I think it's ridiculous, and I think it's a real reach. Look, this country is built on the principle, one of the principles of this country is federalism.
Federalism, yes.
States being able to decide what they want to do. A conservative should be happy that the states are able to make their own decisions rather than the federal government doing a one-size-fits-all solution. Like I said, I mean, look, to me, my assessment of Mike Pence saying this is he's still trying to continue his little side battle with Trump. But the main thing here is nobody cares, in my opinion, or very few people care. Because the truth is this. If you want to be able to enact legislation or make moves on this the way that Trump was by appointing justices to get rid of Roe versus Wade, you need to win elections. If you do not win elections, you can be the most pure of heart person, and it doesn't matter because you have no political heft. So I just think that from all angles, this is what people want. And if you want a particular thing in your state, you can vote on it. And if you don't like that, what's in that state, you can go to another state.
Well, to your
Same
point,
way that a bunch of people are going to Florida now because they like it.
To your point, very good point there is, and then Trump, and this is his CNN.com, and that basically that he said that quote, all legal, quote unquote, all legal scholars, both sides, unquote, and this is still, but this is now continuing a quote from the CNN.com article, wanted Roe v. Wade terminated. Okay. And so to that, what we said about Mike Pence, I don't understand what's going on, Mike Pence. Listen, weren't you someone that said you wanted Roe v. Wade overturned at the Supreme Court? This is what happens when that happens. It goes back to the states. So what's your complaint, Mike Pence? I don't understand it. Now, do you want it not just Roe v. Wade reversed? Do you want a reverse Roe v. Wade decision? I don't understand what you expect Trump or anyone else to do. Of course, it's being left to the states. Now, you may say, well, the Trump's position should be right. Okay. But I mean, it's a little bit, I don't want to say hypocritical because there is a distinction there. And from a political standpoint, okay, well, Roe v. Wade. But essentially what conservatives have been arguing for a long time, Paul, in my opinion, has been to basically overturn Roe v. Wade. Well, now it's overturned by the Supreme Court. So now, of course, it goes back to the states. So what's the major complaint here? Of course, different states are going to have different takes on that. So I just feel like, yes, I understand where Mike Pence is coming from. Yeah, I guess that's Mike Pence's brand, but I still believe that it's pretty disingenuous right there. And I do believe that it continues this little kerfuffle with Trump. And it looks small. It looks really petty. Very serious issue. Nobody's saying that it's not a very serious issue, Pence and Pence supporters. But again, This is like the Nikki Haley thing. This is like this is not I pledge to support the nominee. This is not, I'm going to have my position. This is basically like taking your ball and going home, in my opinion, on that situation. I don't understand it. I think we did lose Paul there for a little bit here. I may have to call him back here. Let me just see what I can do here, see if I can effort that. Sometimes that happens. So, I mean, I'm very disappointed by Mike Pence. I'm disappointed by this situation, and I don't understand it. Let's see here. Let's get the little phone. Paul, are you there?
Villarreal.
Oh, hold on. You there, Paul? Okay, 1 second. Let me connect you. Let me try to connect you. Does that work now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay,
it's
good.
extremely overcast here, so that might be interfering.
Hey,
with
I'm
things.
going to blame it on the eclipse. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's the eclipse's the fault. Okay, so coming back to the Mike Pence thing, look, here's what I think. Mike Pence, the prime group that he was supposedly going to help President Trump with in 2016, and he probably did, was evangelicals. And so if Mike Pence wants to damage Trump for the election, this seems like an attempt to do that with the same group of people. However, I saw a left-leaning media person today, and I can't remember who it is, but they essentially said this was a smart move, and guess what? Evangelicals are not going to abandon Trump. I'm sorry, Mike Pence. In fact, Trump's vote share in polling with evangelicals has never been higher, and I don't think this is going to hurt him at all.
Wow. I mean, let's talk about that for a second. And what we'll probably be doing is, because this is very big news with Trump, we're probably going to be kicking the Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro and all that type of stuff and the Disney stuff into the 5 o'clock block, 5 o'clock hour. Do you feel like, okay, let's just speculate. This is a speculation time here. We're gonna speculate a little bit right here. Where do you think that we are with Mike Pence and Nikki Haley and Karl Rove? We've seen some very unusual activity, in my opinion, and or statements. Nikki Haley, you've got to come convince the Haley voters, and then it's been Ghost City after that. Karl Rove had some tough statements recently at some kind of function. Now we've got this from Pence. Do you think that they are trying to... what's your speculation? I mean, this is pure speculation here on the John D. Villarreal Radio Show and live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Are they trying to sabotage Trump? Do they think they're going to be able to take over the party again? Is this pettiness? Is this personal? All of the above? Like is this trying to get leverage to get some kind of, maybe Nikki Haley thinks she can still be selected for vice president? What's going on here?
I think it is what you said, which is all of the above. There is pettiness involved. There are personal grudges involved. In my opinion, this is all my opinion. There are people who want to sabotage President Trump, and they are hoping if they do sabotage him and he loses, then they might be able to regain control of the party from kind of the MAGA people. Look, it's what I thought with Governor DeSantis. I mean, yes, he was on, and basically Bartiromo said, yes, you've come out, you supported Trump, whatever. And he went on to say, yeah, you've got to change and Biden can't stay around. But he never mentioned Trump's name. Again, for somebody like Governor DeSantis, and this is just normal politics in this regard, if Trump wins and Trump and grabs a VP who is not Governor DeSantis is out of the picture moving forward. In the same way that Governor Newsom maybe kind of secretly hopes Biden doesn't win in 2024 because it would get a lot easier for him. So there is that. Look, I think that we know that there's no love lost between Trump and the Bush camp, the extended Bush camp. You and I both feel that Nikki Haley has become essentially, or she was, almost like an establishment puppet, which is what Vivek said about her. And not only that, he certainly did, but not only an establishment puppet, but a left-wing puppet, because a lot of her donors were left-wing people. So there's all kinds of side agendas going on, whatever. The good thing about this, look, you remember Pence came out, whatever, a week or two ago, and oh my gosh, I'm not going to endorse it and all stuff. And it was a big story for about 2 days. Now he's a blip. And I think people are much more focused now because we're basically at a two-person race here. And it's a binary choice. Do you want to listen to Mike Pence, or do you want to, change President Biden being in the White House? And I think most people on the right, that's not even a real question.
It's definitely not a question, no doubt about it. And I mean, we see over here, and I'm about to, let me see if I'm going to effort to make this happen over here. We've got some great polling here for Trump on Real Clear Politics, and it's just looking stronger and stronger for Trump, no doubt about it. Let's see if we can show this right here. Yes, and you see this right here, Real Clear Politics. Okay, 2024 presidential election, Real Clear Politics. We've got a recent tip poll that's got Biden up 3. You've got an average here, RCP average 321 to 45 of Trump plus 0.3. Trump is at 46.2, Biden at 45.9. Emerson before that had Trump plus 1. Rasmussen reports had Trump plus 8. I mean, but you see the trend line here. The trend line is looking good. You do have some closing. You do have some potential closing right here. But again, you always have people in the Republican side. You've had some questioning of the polls, if you will. And you also have a situation where you've got Trump that has overperformed in all the elections that he's been in. And Trump has overperformed by quite a bit. The almost 3 percentage points, which is a lot. Not to mention the fact that you've got RFK Jr. that's out there doing stuff. You've got some different issues that are happening. I mean, you have this big gap in here, and we've still got a long ways to go. You also have a situation where, and let me put it. I'll come back to this here in a second. You've got a situation where you've got Trump that has been under assault from all of these different legal things, and Trump's going to jail and was going through a little bit of a rough primary. Not really. I mean, it was never really in doubt, but you had a lot of amplification to the Trump critics like Chris Christie and now Pence and Nikki Haley. That's all gone now. Trump is the nominee. People are coming behind Trump. You're going to have a coalescing on the Republican side. The question is how much. Meanwhile, on the Democratic side, you've got issues with, and we'll talk about it maybe next, maybe here or maybe the next segment, where you've got people that are criticizing President Biden. You're criticizing him on the border, criticizing him on the crime issue, and you're criticizing him on some of the foreign policy issues out there. Those aren't going away, Paul. And I mean, you've got real situations in reality that's starting to press in on President Biden, and it's created quite a problem for him, in my opinion. So what I'm saying is, reality and actual performance out there on the economy, you still have a long 7. I guess now we're right on. I think actually we're right at 7 months. 7 months from now is going to be the election. I think it's a long 7 months on a policy perspective, on an economic perspective. And I think that the left is more divided than the right, even though we do have this noise from, the never Trumpers, if you will. Would you agree on that?
I do agree on basically all of that. Look, I mean, we can talk about this, or maybe we won't, but there's new developments with Israel. And they look like they might be positive for Biden. Now maybe they don't look as a positive for Biden. And I'm not trying to be crass about it, but unfortunately, a lot of people are looking at that as a political factor in what might happen in November. You mentioned, people talking about different issues. One of the issues that I'm starting to hear now, and I'm seeing this when various news outlets talk to voters. This came up about a week ago with the voter in Wisconsin. Not only are you starting to hear people talk about the issue of crime, they are starting to link crime to immigration.
Correct.
They are starting to link those two issues. That is a big problem for Biden. No question about it. Because now you're not dealing with one thing, you're dealing with two things. And they're both are negative for you. And I heard this Wisconsin voter who did that. Her top 3 issues were immigration, crime, and the economy. And if that's what the election is about, Biden is not going to do well.
And I'm trying to find the quote here. But there's something to the extent, I have to find this. I got to find this out here. It was something to the extent of Biden has to choose, basically. And this shows the split. This shows the serious split on the Democratic side. Okay, and you've seen, that's what I said. And that was even a little bit before. I said that Biden is going to be moving left. He has to move to the left. Okay, and it's just going to it's going to happen. It's already happening. It's already happening. At the same time, as you also rightly point out, you've got a situation where you've got. Biden is starting to waffle and starting to Governor Hochul, others. It's like, wait a minute, like the safety, the crime issue, the border issue is starting to really hurt the Democrats, and you're seeing them pivot to the center a little bit on that. How fast, when, I don't know, but I mean, that's very interesting right there. So I think there's a lot of problems on the Democratic side. There's a lot of problems on the Democrat side right there.
Yeah, look, I totally agree with you. And one other thing I want to mention that Team Trump is doing is not only are they doing that big fundraiser down in Palm Beach, what they're starting to do is doing targeted fundraisers in swing states. So he's got a big fundraiser outside of Atlanta this week. He's got a rally this Saturday here in Pennsylvania. And before he does the rally, he's doing a big fundraiser in Bucks County, which is a suburb of Philly. So they're starting to kind of load up with both money and rallying and kind of putting in roots in these various swing states. And I can tell you so far, just from what I know here in Pennsylvania, there is a much more focused, cohesive strategy about what needs to get done in regards to early voting and so forth than there ever was in 2020. It's already happening. There's a long way to go because the Democrats have a huge edge in it here. They tend to bank about 600,000 more early votes than Republicans do, which makes it almost impossible to catch up on Election Day. But Republicans are working on this. They're working on voter registrations. So there's hope here.
Okay, that's very important reporting. You are on the ground there in Pennsylvania. We definitely are going to want to hear a lot about that. There's a lot of stuff with Senator Fetterman out there, and he's had some differences with the left, and particularly on the foreign policy type of issue. Here, I've got something very quickly from Politico, and I'm going to be very careful. I'm just letting you know that, right? I'm going to be very careful how I read this and talk about it. And basically, was talking about how you've got protesters repeatedly interrupted President Joe Biden's fundraiser featuring former Presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton, okay, where he raked in 26 million, And then there's been a lot of criticisms. And the headline on this was basically protesters interrupted Biden's glitzy New York fundraiser. This is from Politico. I'm trying to find the reporters here. Elena Schneider and Jeff Colton, 32924, Politico.com. You can check that out. And basically, we've got a picture up here for those on the radio that are taking a look at it. You've got Stephen Colbert, President Obama, and President Biden in the middle there. And I don't know. I don't want to read too much into this, but we've got President Obama. Doesn't look super happy, clapping for President Biden there. I don't know. And Colbert's looking kind of, I don't know what he's looking. He's smiling. Is he looking smug there? Whatever. But you've got here, quote, late night show host Stephen Colbert interviewed the trio presidents, all seated in armchairs. Very weird to have a late night host interviewing presidents like that at a fundraiser. Very, very strange event. Lots more to talk about here on the John D. Villarreal Radio Show here on Newstalk 1040 AM, live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Next hour, we're going to be talking about Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, Candace Owens debating Ben Shapiro, and so much more. You're listening to John D. Villarreal Radio Show here on Newstalk 1040. We'll see you back in about 6 minutes.
for news, talk, and information. 1040 WWW Tampa Bay's all new Newstalk 1040.
It's the only way I gotta get news.
It's North America's biggest eclipse crowd ever, thanks to the densely populated path. Cloud cover threatened to spoil the view in some places, especially in parts of Texas, but the skies cleared with minutes to spare. During a total solar eclipse, the moon passes in front of the sun and blocks the sunlight for a few minutes. Leslie Barnhill, a science educator at Mesquite Planetarium, says the sky turns completely to night during the eclipse.
In totality, if we have completely clear skies, we can see some amazing things. First of all, the whole sky is going to darken to not just cloud cover, but completely night.
Presumptive GOP presidential nominee Donald Trump says abortion should be left to the states. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
In a video posted to Truth Social, Trump says he's proud to take credit for the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to end Roe v. Wade, and that whatever the states decide must be the law of the land, in this case, the law of the state. He did not lay out a timeline for when he believes abortion should be banned, but he did express support for the availability of in vitro fertilization treatments, as well as abortion exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. President Biden's campaign says Trump's endorsing every single abortion ban in the state, including those with no exceptions. Trump has been trying to thread the needle on this issue. In the video, he told Republicans they must follow their heart on this issue, but remember, you must also win elections. I'm Jennifer King.
The Vatican has declared that transgender surgeries and surrogacy are grave violations of human dignity. A new document from the Doctrine Office puts them on a par with abortion and euthanasia as practices that violate God's plan for human life. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 11 points, the Nasdaq rose 5, the S&P 500 declined 2. More at townhall.com.
We thank the pain relief. That's natural pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and order your 3-week starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week starter pack today. Relieffactor.com. Relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
Oh, I cracked the hull of my new ski boat today. Oh my gosh, what did you do that? It's not like I was trying to do it, you know. Sorry, that's rough, my bad, bro. Did anyone witness this epic fail? Yes, this video's galore, and now I'm a meme.
Accidents don't just happen in sea shanties, so Progressive Boat Insurance has you covered. Take as little as 4 minutes to see what you can save at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, covered subject to policy terms and not available for all boats or in all situations.
A town in Mississippi is struggling.
The town of Rolling Fork has struggled to rebuild after a devastating tornado struck last March. The tornado killed 14 residents and reduced the town to rubble. Nearly 400 jobs were lost in the county after the tornado, and about 300 structures were destroyed. Rolling Fork has seen a sharp decline in tax revenue, and the city's infrastructure suffered millions of dollars in lingering damage. Officials fear a population exodus could loom without more resources. John Scott reports.
Jury selection has begun in a lawsuit against BNSF Railway over the lung cancer deaths of 2 people who lived in a Montana town where thousands of people were exposed to asbestos from a vermiculite mine. For decades, the W.R. Grayson Company mine produced the contaminated vermiculite. It was stored in a
What's up, everyone? It's me, John D. Villarreal, here on the John D. Villarreal Radio Show, 5 o'clock hour. Hey, it's Eclipse Day here across America, and I guess the world, really. But, I mean, definitely across America over here, the Eastern Seaboard. People are out there. My daughter ran in and was like, hey, Daddy, it's the eclipse. I'm like, yeah, we're not doing that. No, thank you. But, I mean, hey, well, lots of stuff happening politically. This is John D. Villarreal Radio Show here on Newstalk 1040. All over the greater Tampa area. I'm in Sarasota. You may be over there in downtown St. Pete, downtown Tampa, Clearwater, Bradenton, Brandon, Lakeland, Land of Lakes, Wesley Chapel. It doesn't matter. We've got all kinds, Lakewood Ranch. We got all kinds of stuff going on here. And live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Speaking of X, a lot of things have been happening. Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro is going down. It's going to happen. There was a lot of back and forth. We're going to bring in Paul Villarreal here. And also, if you do want to call in, on the Newstalk 1040 line, it's 727-587-1040, 727-587-1040. One more time, 727-587-1040. I can also see the chats live on YouTube and X. I know that comes over. LinkedIn and Facebook I may have to respond to later. Not 100% sure on that. But there's been a parting of the ways of Candace Owens and a Daily Wire, Ben Shapiro. And we're going to do a little screen share here, so I'm getting that prepared. There's been a parting of the ways. And since that parting of the ways, which was last month, relatively recently, there's been a lot of discussion about how, why, what's going on, all these types of things. You know, was Candace Owens fired? Was it over issues on foreign policy? Was it over other stuff? Paul's talked about it. I've talked about it. We've talked about it on the show. We talked about it last night. We got into it, no doubt about it. But there is new information. There's new information going on right here. But let's first tee this up. And this is from this is on X, from the Candace Owens own site here, profile, the at Real Candace O, and she's huge. I mean, she's got 5 million followers. It's absolutely incredible. Only following 73. She's big time, no doubt about it. And if we look at Real Candace O right here, you've got it back here on March 22nd. The rumors are true. I am finally free. And then it says that there's going to be, announcements and different things like that, okay? And it's very interesting. Now, if you go down, then we go down here, and we have the latest things here on April 5th, so very recently here, and it was going back and forth between Jeremy Boring, who's one of the founders of the Daily Wire, okay? So we've got that. And you can see, Jeremy Boring only has way more than me. Oh, by the way, we do have some good things to announce for Paul. Paul has just crossed 18,000 followers on X. Very impressive here. But Jeremy Boring's got 448,000 followers on X. And so Candace Owens was going back and forth. And you have, whoa, wait a minute. And then talking about Lex Friedman stuff. Lex Friedman says, sure, I'll host it. It'll be fun. Lex Friedman. And he's big time at Lex Friedman, no doubt about it. Lex Friedman, 3.4 million followers. MIT fame. Does a great podcast. It's very interesting. Don't agree with everything he says, but, really appreciate. And nor does everyone. I mean, we shouldn't all agree anyway, right? I mean, it's good to have different perspectives, but I really respect Lex and like the way he does his podcast and stuff like that. So it's very interesting there. And of course, some of the All In folks and stuff, and Calacanis and some of the rest of them. I think it's Saxon. I think they do a good job as well. Anyway, I want to get back to this. Candace Owens, Real Candace O, on April 5th. Okay, we talked about it here. This is the final word here that I've seen here. Okay, I fully accept. No moderator. I will get in privately to set this up. Major win. And like hands up and an American flag. That's Paul Villarreal. Okay. So that's where we're at on this. This is where we're at on this right now. And we'll come back to X. We're going to talk about Paul Villarreal here in a second. Paul, let's bring you in on this one. We don't know when. We don't know where. But it's going to be straight up. It's going to be live. It's not going to be on the Daily Wire. There's going to be no moderator. It's going to be Candace Owens versus Ben Shapiro on this debate. What do you think we're going to hear?
Well, I think that we're going to hear both of them discuss their opinions on, I think, the core issue here, which is a foreign policy issue. I think that's the main bit of disagreement between the two. But I imagine we're also going to hear them talk about what happened. What happened with Candace working at the Daily Wire? Was she fired? Did she leave? Did they not renew her contract? What happened exactly? We've had hints of it, and apparently there's been reports about it. We don't really know. So I think that there's going to be different aspects of those things. Plus, I mean, look, I just think that I don't know if they don't like each other, but they definitely have certain very different views, particularly on the foreign policy matter. So I think that's what we're going to see. I think there'll be a lot of people that'll be interested in this. I'm not sure when it's going to take place, but there's some people are very eager about this.
Definitely, we got some people that are very eager about this, no doubt about it. And I think that there's a lot to talk about here. We've got this one here, and hold on, I'm just going to go one step at a time here. Let's see here. So just bear with me because I'm going to share some screens one at a time here. I don't know who this person is, but we just want to pull it up. And again, I'm just pulling stuff up here. I'm not endorsing anyone. If I don't know some of these people. So, I reserve the right to revise and extend, etc. Again, I have no idea who some of these people are, but we just pulled this thing up. I just think it's interesting of a snippet of some of the conversation going on right here. And this is someone that's got some followers here, some music. It's got almost 17,000 followers. Carl Colace, quote, regarding Candace Owens Ben Shapiro debate, I've enjoyed listening to both of them in the past, but I put all my money on Candace for this one. Wow. And then here we go. Their decision to fire her could mark the beginning of the end for the Daily Wire. Now, I think that's a bit overheated again, I'm not, okay. I don't know this person. I'm not making any comments on them whatsoever, anything like that. Let me be very, very, very clear. I think that analysis, I don't agree with that analysis in terms of the conclusion. If I read it right, in my opinion, I do agree. And we talked about this yesterday. So I think, Carl's pretty insightful here. I do think in this respect, Paul, I do think that this dust up with Candace Owens has not helped the Daily Wire. And I do think that it wouldn't surprise me. I haven't looked at the data. I don't have anything to back this up other than gut reaction and what I'm hearing out there from the likes of Joe Rogan, Officer Tatum, PBD, others like that. I do think that this dust up has really hurt the Daily Wire and with the fan base. And I also don't think that we don't know. I mean, we don't know. We don't know what happened there, and that's part of like what you said. I mean, why I've heard different things. I've heard different reporting. Was it the end of her contract? Was she fired? Was it a resignation? I don't know. We don't know. I think that's why a lot of people are sort of interested in hearing about that. So we're not sure about that. But I do think that this has hurt the Daily Wire with some fans. Would you agree with that, Paul?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that the person who's going to win from this, so to speak, is Candace. Now, I'm not saying whether I think she should win or any of that type of thing, but I think that she will win. She's already winning. However, as you said,
we may have lost Paul there for a second. We're going to have to get him back. I do think that this has hurt them with the Daily Wire. So the Daily Wire has definitely been hurt by this. I'm sure he'll call back here in 1 second. So, and then we'll bring him on as soon as he does do that. I mean, again, we do have an eclipse going on here. Here we go. Let's see if we can, let's see what happens here. Give me 1 second and let me know if you are back now, Paul.
I am back. There's just network problems today. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, we do have an eclipse.
I think, yeah, that's true. And that could be affecting things. Look, I think that Candace, is going to get the better of this in terms of the outcome and where things go. But as we said about Daily Wire, as I was saying, think they're very well funded. They have a very large following, regardless of if Candace is there or not there, and however they may or may not get their views, seem to have a very established space. So I don't think that this is going to hurt them like it's not going to devastate them. I don't think. But will it hurt them? Yeah, I think it will hurt them. Candace was part of their portfolio, and now you're losing that. And as you said before about this, there are people, I guess, who did not understand what some of Ben's views were. And when I say that, I'm talking more, in my opinion, that he's more of kind of the neoconservative bent and the heavy interventionalist bent. And, that's not where a lot of America First people are. So there is a chance that's going to, hurt his reputation or hurt him with his audience. I do think that's true. Candace, on the other hand, I think for a lot of people will kind of help her brand with all of this. Now, I don't think she's helping her brand with everybody. And like I said, me personally, she hasn't helped herself with some of the things that she's remarked about. But overall, I think that this is the scales will tip towards Candace Owens in this, although I don't know if she's going to, quote unquote, win the debate.
Well, I hear that. I think it's very interesting. I can see this in a couple different ways. No less than the Jerusalem Post. This is making international headlines, and we're going to show this right now. This is the Jerusalem Post right here, okay, by the Jerusalem Post staff, April 6th at 6:39. Quote, Candace Owens challenges Ben Shapiro to debate, and then it goes on here about the debate and stuff like that. And again, I'm just going to be very careful about everything here for all the various platforms and everything like that, and in respect to everyone as well. And basically talked about what's going to happen here and debating and different things. And also it has a clip here where Candace Owens posted on X basically, about calling, Candace Owens called out Ben Shapiro. Can somebody make that happen? And they showed Andrew Schultz here a clip from his podcast where he was basically calling out, in my opinion, calling out Ben Shapiro. And from Anomaly here at Legendary Energy, and this was reposted by the real Candace Owens. Quote, Andrew Schultz realizes Ben Shapiro is only good at debating college liberals and can't win debates against serious competition. I think that they both have a lot to lose on this one, and they both have something I think Candace has more to gain and Shapiro has more to lose, Paul. I think that's where it is. I really believe that. Now, that being said, Ben Shapiro has a background similar to mine, right? I mean, UC undergrad. He went to UCLA. I went to UC Berkeley. He went to Harvard Law. I went to UC Berkeley Law. I had a choice to go to almost any of the top 20 law schools. I got into almost all of them with fellowships or scholarships and everything like that. And in fact, interesting side note, Berkeley and Harvard have an exchange program that goes on between the law schools where you can kind of I don't know if they still do it, but I believe they do, and they were doing it when I was in there, where you could spend a year at the other place. So definitely, almost like I don't know what you want to call that. Some kind of semi-equivalency or sister schools or what. I don't know what to call that, but I mean, obviously, there's some kind of mutual good feelings there because of the exchange and program and that law. I don't want to mischaracterize that. But they've both been top T14. That's what they. There's the M7 for business schools, the top 7 that are almost always perennially top 7, and there's the T14 that are almost always a perennially T14 law schools, and they both are in that. And then, of course, I went on to do MBA and Master of Communication at Johns Hopkins, great school. So go Bears, go Blue Jays. But Ben Shapiro is. I guess you could even call him a professional communicator. They both are, but I would even say you could call him an elite level. I don't know if there's a pro level, probably there is, but certainly an elite level debater. That being said, as I said last night on the podcast, you don't know what Candace Owens is fearless, and someone else said that too, and I agree with that. I can't remember who said that. I think it was. I don't know if it's a PBD podcast. I think so. Candace Owens is fearless. You don't know what Candace Owens is going to say. I think that sometimes Ben Shapiro on some of these programs can be sort of caught with some body language or stuff that people, I don't think always fully appreciate. Some people have called him smug and whatnot. And again, I'm not. First of all, these are both these individuals. First of all, I'm glad that they're both in the conservative movement on the right. They're both super successful. Both way more successful than me. I'm not being a punk. I'm not criticizing, but I have a duty, as I always do, to be straight up with my audience. And I as I said before, and I'll say it again, I don't really watch either one of these people on a regular basis. No doubt they're not watching me. Okay, whatever. Who knows? But although I will say it's sort of funny, a lot of things that Paul and I talk about, eventually a week, a month, 2 weeks, 3 months, sort of gets out there. And Paul's got 18,000 plus with some top people following him on X. We're going to talk about that. And I've got tons of people on my LinkedIn. I've exchanged emails and met people and shaking hands with some of the greatest out there, etc. I don't want to get into that, swerve into that, but needless to say, they are both way richer, way more famous, way everything than me. So I'm not trying to be a punk, but I'm trying to analyze this straight up. I'm not like some people, I just need to kiss up for the money. And I mean, I'm not a sellout. You know that, 1040 audience. So we're just going to call it the way we see it. And I think that there's danger on both sides. Ben Shapiro, but I think Ben Shapiro is going to have to be a lot faster, more composed. You don't know what, because here's the thing. Candace Owens has, in many ways, the audience behind her. And this is what I'm talking about. Patrick Bet-David talked about this. Trump talked about this. Candace Owens is leaning heavy into the America First agenda. And I think that I think that Ben Shapiro's got some questions to answer on where his positions are. The other thing is, I think that Daily Wire has made, and particularly Ben Shapiro has made a career out of going to college campuses and doing different things and fighting against cancel culture. And now it seems like, and I can't remember exactly how see if you can remember how I phrased it, but I think it was pretty clever how I phrased it last night, Paul, which is basically like, for lack of a better phrase, I'm going to see if I can paraphrase this. I'm sure you'll correct me. Whatever your position is on a foreign policy issue does not trump the Constitution. And here, particularly the conservative movement, and one of the things we're fighting for and in the Constitution is freedom of speech. And someone else said this too, that it's so funny in the Daily Wire, the Overton window is basically whatever, what that ends with Ben Shapiro's beliefs. Now, you can have a disagreement on a foreign policy issue, but that should not trump it doesn't trump the Constitution, right? And so people are going to support freedom of speech. Now, publisher versus platform, I'm sure we're going to get all these definitions. And the problem with some of the folks at the Daily Wire is it almost tends to be too scholarly. People don't want to tune into a PBS type of deal, and I understand that. Being scholarly, that's great. I love being scholarly myself. But I'm just saying that Candace Owens, you can cut through that noise. You don't know what she's going to do in a live situation there, and particularly if she even gets prepped up and just prepare, by herself or someone else or whomever. It's going to be interesting to see when this happens, when the debate, when the prep is. But I could see just even a few pointed questions of Ben Shapiro might make it pretty uncomfortable. We've seen Ben Shapiro uncomfortable in friendly interviews, Paul. What do you think about that?
Yeah, look, I think that if my guess on how this debate is going to go will be that Ben will win on points and Candace will try to win on with kind of winning over the crowd or kind of making, zingers and this type of a thing. I think that Candace I agree with a lot of what Candace thinks. I agree with a lot of what Ben thinks. But I don't, there's things I disagree with both of them. I don't have nearly not the interventionist mentality that Ben seems to have. With Candace, I think she gets a little she isn't tight enough with her facts sometimes. I don't know if she's tight enough with her arguments. That's just my opinion, listening to some of what she said. But obviously, overall, she's good. I think she's definitely more charismatic than Ben is. And I think she's better with the kind of one-liners and such than Ben is. And so that's what I would expect this to go. Look, there are things that can be brought up that can put Ben on defense. There's no question about it. However, I think that can go both ways. So, look, it's going to be interesting. I mean, people are interested in it, as you said. I mean, this is getting a write-up in the Jerusalem Post.
Right.
So it's definitely a topic that is being mentioned. Some of what's being discussed with it are people on the right saying, look, do we really need this right now? In other words, do we really need conservatives going at each other when we got an election coming up?
Yeah, that's true.
But look, I don't, I definitely agree with that. We need to be on the same page. However, I don't think this is going to be that much of a distraction personally.
Well, and I also think that, there's a lot of people like, oh, you can't bring this up. You can't talk. If you talk about this, you're going to get canceled. Conservative. We can't have that. We can't have that. We can't have that about anything. You got to be able, again, whatever your policy is on anything, it doesn't trump the Constitution. You got to be able to talk about different things. But that doesn't mean that, okay, anything, and the Republicans should accept. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, and someone else said this too, and it was what I said. I try to say it, as well. And well, I think it was Adam from PPD podcast. But we were saying this for a while now. Like, listen, you can have, we have disagreements on policy here in America all the time. That doesn't mean that we're anti-Americans. I'm wearing the flag right now. We love it. I'm as patriotic as they come, right? And the thing of it is that there shouldn't be a policy discussion that's off the table. Right. I mean, I'm sure there maybe I can revise and extend that later. Maybe I'm there may be some crazy example out there somewhere. But I mean, if they're talking about it, if politicians are voting on it, if they're, you know what I mean? Like what are we talking about here? And so to that extent, that if Ben Shapiro can make Candace Owens look like Steven Crowder, basically, when Steven Crowder had that disagreement with the Daily Wire, I think Steven Crowder came out of that in the end looking worse than the Daily Wire. Okay, and so I think that Ben Shapiro's got to make himself look reasonable, and maybe does Candace look like more like Steven Crowder? The thing of it is Candace Owens is not Steven Crowder, number one, and number two, it seems like the energy and the political will and is again more of that America First type of position. And so I think that it's going to be very, very, very interesting. Anyway, more to talk about. Last segment coming up. I'll kind of clean that up here in a little bit. John D. Villarreal Radio Show here on Newstalk 1040, live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and X, and YouTube. We will be back in 6 minutes. What's going on, everyone? It's me, John D. Villarreal. Final segment here on Eclipse Monday, April 8th, right here on Newstalk 1040 AM, all over the greater Tampa Bay area. If you want to call in, you can call me at 727-587-1040, 727-587-1040, live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and X. Hey, we're joined by Paul F. Villarreal. Now, Paul, you just posted something up here from President Donald Trump, okay, 45, maybe 47, has just posted on what he's talked about here. And let's talk about this. This is from the at Real Donald Trump, okay, and he talked about this on Truth Social that quote unquote, the Democrats are quote unquote reeling when they have no response to my recent statement on abortion, unquote. And he's talking about other than quote unquote, he's only kidding. He will change it, or he didn't really do that, blah, blah, blah. And so he keeps going on with that. What's your take on that? I mean, you talked a little bit about that, but I mean, do you feel that Trump's right in this analysis? I mean, it seems like this is, and it goes with what the pollster was saying, has this statement from Trump really caught the Democrats off guard with their campaign strategy, maybe?
Yeah, I think it did. And in that Truth Social post, he's also said that we've won because this is basically the only issue they have, and the implication is that we've taken it off the table. I do think that it caught him off guard. Look, I mean, this isn't a new position for Trump. He's stated the same position for some time. He just hadn't made it official on the campaign. And I think that the Biden campaign itself was hoping, after what has taken place in Florida, that they might be able to bring this issue back up. They were clearly going to have been planning on using it for this campaign. But Trump just very clearly and succinctly, as you played some of the clip earlier, said today, no, I'm not this is up to the states. He didn't mention anything about a national ban or anything like that. And that's where he left it. And so it is going to be very difficult for them now. They are scrambling right now to kind of deal with this, and I think he's absolutely correct about what he wrote.
Absolutely, and so Trump is out there. He's definitely making some statements, no doubt about it. And it looks like this is going to be an issue because, like you said, I mean, what's the other choices for the Democrats out there? Where they're going to go out there? They've taken an issue off the table here. Now let's talk about you. Let's promote you for a little bit right here, since I've got you up on the screen here. Let's kick into this. You just crossed 18,000 followers out there. You were anonymous. Now you're out there doing some stuff. That's pretty big there on X. What's the story? How can people follow you on X?
Yeah, so my handle is at Aurelius Stoic 1. That's from the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, and he followed the Stoic philosophy. So that's where I got it, Aurelius Stoic 1. You can also just look me up by my name, Paul Villarreal, which should come up upon me. Also encourage people to follow your account, which is just kind of beginning to grow. And we love to talk to people on X, so come on over and say hello. I talk to people on X all the time. So that's an important place, I think, for conversation, particularly, as you mentioned in last segment, when it comes to free speech. And if we care about free speech, then we have to cultivate places like X and like Rumble.
X, Rumble, no doubt about it. Absolutely. And we've got something, of course, we like all the platforms, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and X, but we're definitely broadcasting X, and we are very soon to launch Rumble. That will be happening. We're looking at that very closely, and in terms of trying to do that very quickly here. And you can follow me on X at John D. Villarreal. That's at JOHN as in dog, and Villarreal, VILLARREAL, at John D. Villarreal is how you follow me on X. And I'm just kind of, I've had this account for a while, but I'm just kind of getting it going again. No doubt about it. Okay, so very good, very good. Want to cover that. And so I'm glad we were able to talk about that. Now let's talk about this. Let's talk about Disney and Star Wars, Marvel Universe, and all this. I mean, it's getting very problematic out there. It's getting really kind of crazy out there. In the whole Disney situation. There's a lot of problems out here. Nerdrotic, Critical Drinker, others. There's been bomb after bomb after bomb. We talked about last night the Acolyte, which is the newest, the latest thing. That's going to be, I think it's going to be on the streaming platform, like with Disney Plus, like they did with The Mandalorian. And it's been run by showrunner Leslie Headland. It's been heavily ratioed out there, which basically means the ratio of dislikes to likes is enormous. And it just keeps getting worse. What's your take on some of this stuff, Paul?
Yeah, well, you mentioned Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker. Now, both of those guys make a lot of good content on YouTube. So I'm not going to say that it's a single thing that they're focused on, but one of the reasons why they're so big is because they criticize entities like Disney, like Star Wars, like the Marvel Universe now. And so there's a demand for that content because people are unsatisfied with what they're getting right now. And look, I think I told you this. I got dragged to the Marvels, which is, I believe, the last thing that Marvel put out, the movie with Captain Marvel and the other people in it. It was horrible. It was so bad. I mean, it was painfully bad. And it's not, again, it has nothing to do with having female characters or diverse characters. That doesn't matter. We mentioned it recently. Wonder Woman was a great movie.
Great movie.
The original Wonder Woman was fantastic. I mean, that was a brilliant movie with, of course, a female lead. It was done great. The problem
people
is
love Lando Calrissian. People love Princess Leia.
Yeah.
People loved a lot of characters out there. People love Bo-Katan from The Mandalorian. People love Gina Carano's character. Go ahead.
Look, they love Chewbacca.
Of course.
I mean, there's all kinds of Yoda. I mean, it's all kinds of different, and Baby Yoda. So it's not about that. It's happened. The problem is, I believe, first of all, you have to have good storytelling. You have to have good writers. You have to put the story above any agenda. That's absolutely number one. Number two is people are a lot happier when you respect the lore that's already been laid down. If people are incredibly emotionally attached to Star Wars, which they have been, so if you make a new trilogy that trashes Luke Skywalker, people aren't going to be happy about that. And you're bringing people in to direct these movies or write these movies or both who aren't even fans of the franchise. Maybe they don't even know the franchise. That's the same type of thing is happening with the Marvel movies. Yeah, we don't want people, apparently, some of them have said, we don't want people who read the comics. Well, that's not a good place to start from. The first thing you have to know is what the fans want. And look, we talked about this a little bit previously. WrestleMania was last night. Well, it was actually this past weekend.
Yeah, we should talk about that. We'll talk about this a little bit, but I want to talk about that. Go ahead.
One of the things that The Rock said, who is now on the board of directors of the parent company, TKO, of the WWE, and who is now came back as a performer for this event. Look, they were bringing him back as a good guy. Okay, that was what his role was going to be in this event. But guess what? The fans didn't want it. They rejected it. And so what did he and the company do? They listened to the fans. That's what you have to do. You have to adjust and adapt. You don't blame the fans. You don't criticize the fans. You listen to the fans. And if that was done more, by Disney, I think you'd have a lot fewer failures like we are seeing, like the Marvels, which I believe was the biggest loser they've ever had as a feature film. And you mentioned Acolyte. Look, I've heard stuff about Acolyte. I didn't watch the trailer. I just admit that up front. I've heard things about the Acolyte for probably more than a year, and none of it was positive. And I just think that people kind of have a concept of what they think they're going to get from a Kathleen Kennedy-led Star Wars production. And I don't think a lot of people are really thrilled about it. And I think that's something that Lucasfilm and Disney is going to really need to look at.
They're going to have to look at it, no doubt about it. And we've got some different things here. I don't know all these different publications or whatnot, but we've got something here, people talk about how Disney's losing so much different money, and we have a lot of different things on. Let me see if I can share this very quickly from YouTube. We talked about last night here, and again, I don't know all these different channels or whatnot. We've talked about about how it's so heavily ratioed. And let me just share this here real quick. Let's see here. 1 second. Let me see if I can get this. It's going to take like a 30 seconds here. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Yes. Okay. All right. And we're going to come back here and we're going to show this. Here we've got, you look at it, Accolade trailer ratioed. And this is from 12 days ago. 181,000 likes. And if we go, and I'll show you like from 12 days later, we'll show you the real time thing right here. 181,000 likes, Paul. 565,000 dislikes on the Acolyte trailer. Okay, so now if we get rid of that and we go to where we're at right now with the Acolyte, I can't remember. I think it was only I must have pulled it down. We see that it's only just a little bit more than that in terms of the actual likes now. I think it's like 188,000 likes. So it's just not happening. People aren't liking it. We've got Nerdrotic Daily, who says, quote, in a recent video, quote, Disney's woke agenda exposed. Bob Iger is a liar. Talking about Kathleen Kennedy, talking about the bombs with the Marvels and trying to Mike Zero's out there talking about how they're trying to do reshoots with Deadpool 3, Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, and they're pushing back against that, how they were supposed to do some promotion on Jimmy Kimmel and then talk about DEI stuff and maybe reshoot the third act. And also on The View, allegedly. I don't know, but there's a lot of people that are talking about these things. They're not happy. The fans are not happy. They're turning on Tatiana Maslany and Kathleen Kennedy and Leslie Headland, talking about, criticizing the fans, talking about new fans, turning on the fans. And people are not liking that. So there's a lot of, allegedly, there's a lot of discussion on that. And it's really, really, not working right there. And there's a lot of people criticizing that. But as you rightly say, and we'll turn to this. So, before I segue into that, you do talk about how WWE, TKO, and The Rock did listen to the fans. And we're going to turn to the success of WWE and WrestleMania 40. Back-to-back sellouts in Philadelphia. People talking about how great WrestleMania was. WrestleMania 40. I mean, WrestleMania XL. It was unbelievable. But staying with Disney, staying with Bob Iger, we had Nelson Peltz out there with the proxy fight. Disney stock tanked a little bit, down 2.29%, or I don't want to say. Let me revise and extend that. Seemed to dip a little bit, in my opinion. This is factual reporting, not giving any financial advice, any other kind of advice. After the board, after the re-election of the board, this Iger board, if you will, and the market didn't seem to react to that. Elon Musk is talking about before about how maybe he will try to do something or take over Disney or buy out Disney or do something like that. Maybe he can team up with Peltz. I don't know. What do you think is the future of Disney right now? Is it broken beyond repair? Will it turn around? Is this just that this is a lag because it takes so long to make movies and now we're still sort of getting some of the old inventory in the woke era, or what do you think? Does Disney turn this around, or is it just damage beyond immediate repair, I guess?
Well, I think that Iger, there are reports that Iger is trying to kind of course correct, because there have been leaks coming out of Disney for people who are not happy about that he's trying to kind of right the ship and go back to the old formula. And I asked, is this just lag in terms of the titles coming out? No, it's not. I know for a fact that they have pushed back certain titles because they wanted to rewrite them. They wanted to reshoot them. Like the Captain America movie was supposed to come out this July, I believe. No, that's coming out like I think next year now. Why? There were apparently multiple complaints with the movie. Were not enough action. Some of the political exposition in the film was too boring, and so forth. This is from people who went to screenings of this, test screenings. So it's not just log here. There are problems. There are issues. And again, to the credit of Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, I believe is the head of Marvel, hopefully they are trying to fix them, because these things don't work. The only look, when we talked about this last night, you mentioned Black Panther. I thought the first Black Panther was fantastic. I actually kind of liked the second one as well, because I liked Namor, or Namor, however you want to pronounce it. I liked that character, and I thought that the actor did a really good job with him. However, look, the truth is this, and this happens in many franchises. Black Panther, particularly the original film, was all about Chadwick Boseman. And of course, sadly, Chadwick Boseman isn't with us anymore.
A fantastic actor, did such a great job. Just incredible. It's incredible.
Just did such a great job, has such presence.
Yeah.
And absolutely. I mean, it's tragic. I mean, what happened, but it's like you don't have him anymore.
Well, and I think
that's going to, I think, make it very difficult to sustain with that franchise.
Well, and I think that see, this is the thing. Like, and that's a great point right there. Like, you've got Chadwick Boseman was just unbelievable, incredible. M'Baku, I thought, was also really good. Angela Bassett is always great, fantastic actress, all that, but a little over the top, I think. But with the second movie, but just obviously, but brings tremendous presence and great actress and stuff like that. But then you had a lot of other things. Now, the actor for Namor, whatever, is I think that he was great. I think the look was great. I think all that. I think the backstory, I think, the powers, it just got a little weird and convoluted and stuff like that. And he gets punked so close to the water. I don't know. I mean, you can't, we know from coming up in this is the part of the problem too. And now this happens, this isn't just a recent thing. This happens and repeatedly in the different comic books and stuff like that. But we know that, in the traditional Marvel universe, Earth 616 and all that, any kind of conflict between Namor and a Black Panther, Namor's going to just 99 times out of 100 is going to just win that, because he's just on a just completely different power level. I mean, Namor is basically equivalent to Aquaman, all right? And look what Aquaman can do and stuff like that. I mean, I forget what the original strength level, and things have been changed, but the original strength level, I believe, of Namor was like lifting 75 tons or something like that in the water. Okay, a little bit less out of the water, but it wasn't. He's functioned plenty of times and fought plenty of times out of the water. It's not this like if he's out of water for 2 seconds, he's punked, or if you or anything like that, because he's half human and stuff like that too. Again, very much like Aquaman, all right. And Black Panther was something very much equivalent to Captain America, right? Which was that those two were very much on par and compared continually in the comic books, but lifting like 800 pounds over the head. So 800 pounds is nowhere close to 75 tons. Namor can fly, Black Panther can't. There's all kinds of different things, swimming, everything like that. So it's just very strange, that whole thing. But Wakanda versus Atlanteans, that was kind of cool. I mean, again, it's fine. I don't want to get distracted into deep in the weeds here of the comic book stuff. The point of it is that, as we saw last night, Star Wars has always been diverse. Look at the Cantina. Look at Lando Calrissian. Look at Princess Leia. People were coming to school with the hair braid buns and stuff like that. It was always that way. The most iconic character, one of the most iconic character in movies ever, Darth Vader worldwide, voiced by James Earl Jones. What are we talking about here? I mean, Disney has definitely lost its way. There's been different statements out there. I mean, woke Hollywood isn't just Marvel. It isn't just Disney. No. I mean, woke Hollywood is definitely under assault. People are turning away. People are saying we don't want this. Now, as your point, I want to do some business here and talk about WWE and countervail that as we got about 5 minutes left or less. You had WrestleMania that did really, really great. Now, Rock, I think, I would explain it like this. Rock, listen, I think Rock's got a big ego. I think a lot of people, I could understand that. I mean, Rock's a larger than life dude. Absolutely right. I mean, he has the $7 production. He at one point had $7 in his pocket. Now that wash out of the NFL. Now the dude is like mega star, getting close to $1 billion. Has a tequila company, worldwide box office star. Has done so many different things. Fast and Furious, just Hobbs and Shaw has done so many different things out there. WWE champ. He's on the board of TKO. He's just everywhere. I think that he got comfortable. This is my spin on it. He got comfortable in the Hollywood, persona that he has, where he is the A-list actor. He is the leading person out there. He is the super dude and stuff. And he's the face. He's a face. He's the good guy. He's the hero, right? And then he comes back to WWE and immediately wants to step in and do that and basically do like a Brock Lesnar or Goldberg or whatever it is, in WCW, but definitely like a Brock Lesnar or Rock has done before and whatnot with CM Punk. And he expected he could kind of transport that character, that persona, if you will, the Hollywood persona into WWE. And the fans were like, no, we want Cody to finish the story. But more than that, and I think more than to finish the story, I think it's more elemental, more basic than that. And I think that Rock forgets, maybe forgot for a second how he came up and how he became popular. He became popular in the Attitude Era. The face Rock that they had before wasn't working. He had to go to the Brahma Bull, the raised eyebrow, know your role, laying the smack down, all that. The Attitude Era. People wanted the anti-hero. And or even the heel turn, right? Heel turn Brock is very popular. And what he came up with here, and finally listen to the fans. You talked about that. I want to give you time to talk about it. We do want to show this very quickly on the stream here, showing this on the stream right here. For those that on the radio who can't see, he came up with this thing, the persona, the final boss. And you may not be able to see that. You've got Rock with his, I think, Versace. And you've got Roman Reigns down there, and this is WWE on their YouTube right here. You've got the final boss, and you've got the Brahma Bull on there. It says Rock on the top, and it says Final Boss on the back as he's strolling. It's obviously big money outfit here as he's strolling to the ring to face off with John Cena. And I just think that the Final Boss persona, leaning in hard into the heel role and everything, the video game culture and stuff like that, people went crazy for the Final Boss character. Paul, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I thought it was a great turn. And look, we talked about Disney and Star Wars and kind of messing with the lore, messing with the story. Rock tried to come in on a story that was already being told. He tried to change the story midway through, and that's not what people wanted. But to the credit of Rock and the WWE, they listened to the fans. And not, he didn't get hung up on it. He turned into a great character of the final boss. And that's what people want. That got him over big. People want to be entertained. They want interesting things. They want a story that they're used to. I mentioned this last night on the stream. Godzilla movies are doing incredible right now. The box office of these things. Why? Because people are being entertained. They're not being preached to. You're giving them what they want and what they expect. And again, WWE and Rock made the adjustment. As you mentioned, 2 straight sellouts, not just sellouts of 72,000 people on 2 nights. 145,000 people over 2 nights in Philadelphia. That's not even mentioning some of the other events.
We got to go. Love it, Paul. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. The Final Boss, WWE, right. Bottom line is listen to the fans. Respect the fans. Those are your customers. No doubt about it. Hey, we appreciate it out there. Eclipse Monday. We did it. Have a great week. Stay blessed. This is the John D. Villarreal Radio Show on Newstalk 1040, live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and X. We will see you next week. Have a great week.